Hey women! Wow, welcome to our Persephone pop-up, our second Persephone pop-up in honor of our retreat, in honor of the underworld, in honor of all of the different aspects that we're going into in this journey together. So for some of you, this might be your first thing that you're doing in the retreat. I know that there are quite a few women who've just joined us today. For some of you, you have completed all 5 or 7, depending on which option you went with for the retreat. You've completed all of the modules, and this is kind of the end, possibly, of the journey for you. But honoring exactly where you're at within the journey and really just feeling, Casey just joined, heck yeah, welcome woman. Just also, you might be watching this later when the retreat kind of release period is past, and so honoring that too, but just really honoring exactly where you're at and inviting us all to be so open to this being the perfect time to be here. So this being the perfect time for us to be watching this, whether it's at the very start of the journey, the very end of the journey, the middle of the journey. Sudha did workshop 3 today, whether it's right after workshop 3 today, just really like owning that. So it's this invitation to own it. Like you're watching this, you're here on this live at the time that you're on watching for a reason. And so let's just like sink into that, really sink into that, and really let go of any thoughts of like, oh, should I wait to watch this? Or maybe now isn't the right time, or maybe I shouldn't be on the live, or, you know, whatever might be going on. Let's just totally let that go. Totally let that go. So for those of you who are here live, thank you all for being here live, and it adds a very different flavor to things, and we're gonna kind of weave and dance. There are a few kind of themes that have arisen as some women have made their way through some of the modules, or even all of the modules for some of you. And so there's some themes that I want to, or some frequently asked questions that I kind of want to bring light to, and I think will really help. I'm really holding this space today to give everything that I can in the deepest way that I can for this particular live. So probably a little bit less on the Q&A, although maybe we'll open that up to just kind of let things flow and weave back and forth a little bit. But I'm feeling like some of these themes have come through and are really solid and really strong. For those of you on the live, feel free to chime in. Feel free to leave comments. Feel free to chat or add or weave in with each other, even if there's things that you can kind of relate to each other on. If you're watching it later, but the Facebook group is still open, you can maybe bring some conversation into the Facebook group, just some different ideas. But really, let's go through this. Let's be with each other in this hour in the way that most serves. So the way that most serves you in this moment, and being open, being really open to insights coming in, to feels coming in, to the aha moments happening, to it coming in whatever form and however it happens to flow in for you. And it might be in a comment that you read on the live. It might be in a word that I share, but it's not even really what it meant, but it hits something in you and means something different for you. And so I'm just inviting us to step into that really expanded place, really open to the wisdom and the insights kind of flowing and weaving in the way that they flow and weave. So let's take a moment to just come into ourselves. So just this moment to breathe into our bodies as we kind of move into this like wisdom circle, these conversations, this share, and what is going to arise over the next 55 minutes together. But breathing yourself into your body. So just breathing yourself into your heart in this moment. So just breathing yourself right into your heart, kind of letting the heart expand. I feel like for some of you, just this moment of being here and breathing into the heart is really good integration. Maybe for where you're at amidst the journey and some of the different heart work that we've done. So just like allowing the heart, just the expansion, the opening, and just like letting it relax and be. And then the belly, like letting the belly, like solar plexus, we often hold like our diaphragm so tight, and we hold our solar plexus so tight. But just kind of letting that just like soften almost, like you can feel the lower ribs, the ribs just expanding as you breathe. So letting there just be some movement, some energy, some relaxation kind of in that whole area of the body. And then going a little bit lower into like tummy. So like tummy area, like belly button area. Just like belly button, letting all of that be loose and free and relaxed, and letting yourself be in your body, letting yourself be there, letting yourself be here, just being here in the body. And just this quick, gentle opening is also kind of inviting some of those other wisdom centers in our body to open. So kind of letting like gut wisdom open, letting womb wisdom open, letting yoni wisdom open. So just now breathing and opening and relaxing like all the way down to the spine. Marianne, I love that. Her comment, just love breathing with you all. Yes. So just breathing kind of all the way down into the root chakra. And just a few moments in your own space to feel into what will support you to come a little bit further into circle, to be a little bit more present, just a little bit more here. Maybe it's a couple more breaths into the deeper areas of the body. Maybe it's a couple of breaths into the throat or into the third eye area, or maybe it's a bit of awareness on the whole of the central channel. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's like calling on the ancestors, calling on the medicine women, calling on Persephone herself. Maybe it's calling on Hades. Maybe it's calling on the gifts of the underworld. But just this moment to feel into, all right, where am I called to go? What am I called to do to support me coming just a little bit more into circle and into this space? And then for those of you live, I would love just a one word or a couple of words, but also for those of you not on the live, watching later, just feeling into yourself in this moment and finding a word or words. But the question is, okay, in this space, I'm here, I'm in the journey, I'm feeling into this journey, I'm here in this circle with all of these beautiful souls who have walked and are walking or will be walking this journey with me in this space, in this moment. What words arise to describe how I feel? Like what words, honored, loved, present? So I might just read a few at ease, but really also just feeling for you, like what's arising for you, so incredibly held, honored, connected, worthy, held, alive. Keep reminding myself I am safe, loved and loved, sisterhood, openness, full. This is the right place to stay, safe, excited, anticipation. Gratitude. think my word would be deep. If I were to feel this moment, and just, I think my word would be deep. I just feel deep. I feel deep. I feel depths. I feel rawness. I feel vulnerability. I feel honesty. I feel truth. I feel fire. I feel the shadow lands and the gifts that are held in the shadow lands. I feel like Persephone's light. I feel like her bringing a torch, her like light, her torch, a flame into some of the hidden corners. I feel that, just shining a light on some of the deep, dark, hidden things, the gifts, the mysteries, all of that. I feel the medicine women. I feel like that Hecate energy. I feel Hades. I really feel that. I actually feel that in my womb space. That I think we spoke about this in our last live. Is just that. No, I think it was somewhere else, but. Hades, Pluto is very linked to also just birth and death. And we've worked with that quite a bit in the workshop. But Hades, who is Pluto, brings the gift of birth, like really a lot about impregnation, a lot about birth, death, renewal, rejuvenation. I kind of feel pregnant when I feel into things, when I feel into our space. And our circle, and just kind of this journey. I feel deep love. I feel deep love and deep compassion for everything everyone's journeying through, for what's arising, for what we've rubbed up against, for the challenges, for the beauty as well as the ugliness, to just give words to things. The shadows, the intensity, the big emotions that might be arising, the fears that may have arisen, the kind of that struggle or battle with little self versus big self, authentic self versus false self, divine self versus egoic self. I'm really holding that just with so much love, holding kind of everything that arises around a big, deep journey like this. And that's so unique to all of us and so different for all of us, but just really holding that in my heart and like wanting to just jump through this camera and just like jump through and just like be so there with you. Just be there. And, for those of you who need to hear this, like, you're gonna be all right. You're good, you got this, you've got this, you know this, your being knows this, like you're held, you're safe, she's holding, we're holding, something so much greater is holding. Just that, for those of you who like have got your crown and have risen out of the underworld, I want to jump through the camera and just say, I witness you. I see you standing in your fullness. I see you, right? What we are doing together is amazing, amazing. What you are doing, woman, is amazing. What you have done or are doing or are in the middle of doing is amazing. And it's not easy. I know that there are parts in this retreat that are not easy. It strips you bare. It strips you bare. It takes us to places that we hid and we tucked away and we didn't want to look at. It also asks us to rise in ways that don't necessarily feel comfortable, to step into a fuller self that we might not necessarily feel comfortable with yet. It might also be asking us to surrender to something so much greater that we find tough, right? It might be asking us to trust in something beyond what we previously trusted in, to trust something bigger, something greater, something more, to trust in our deep inner wisdom to a different degree, to touch into something that we've maybe never touched into. And I'm just honoring that and witnessing that and feeling that and loving that and holding so much reverence for that, so much reverence for that. And just whatever unique place that you're at now, or unique place that you get to, and maybe you need to come back and hear these words, or just like feel into this circle and feel into this space, or feel into me and feel into this love and feel into this sacred container that this is created in, that holds you through the journey regardless of when you're doing it or how long it takes you. If you need to come back to this space and lean in, right? Like, this is one of those opportunities. Lean in. If things are coming up, you're like, oh, this is really hard, lean in. Or if you're like, can I get a witness? I need a witness. Like, I've just been asked to rise out of the underworld as a completely new person. I've just been asked to put on my crown and sit on my throne, and I am scared, right? Whatever that journey might be, or wherever you might be at, or it might be with the innocence part. That innocence part was a big part for a lot of us. The innocence, like, oh my God, lean in. Like, this is just one of those moments of just like lean into our space, lean into our circle, right? But you're not alone. You're not alone. You are not alone. There are so many supports, and there's so much love here. And way beyond just me, way beyond the support team, way beyond those who are journeying alongside of you. Yeah, that's here. That's here. But there's supports that are beyond that. The unseen supports that are holding you through this journey. The unseen supports that are holding you through this journey. And the psyche might be shitting itself, right? And it's meant to. It's meant to. The brain, the mind might be losing it. The emotions might be just off the charts, and it's meant to. All of that is so. And I'm not saying that that's exactly what's meant to happen, but that's very common. It's very common. What we are doing here on a very like high level of talking is it's death to the ego. It's part of death to the ego. Death to the ego, embodiment of the soul. We don't get to work with Shakti, and we don't get to work with these energies, and we don't get to work with the depths, and we don't get to work with true north and soul alignment without little self, without our egoic structures being challenged and being pushed and being discombobulated and being flipped upside down and being kind of disarmed, de-armored, dismembered, I don't even know, something. But all of that taking place, and when we're in it, it's hard, and it can be confusing, and it can be very emotional, and we can sometimes not even know who we are. Like, oh shit, who am I now? Like, I don't even know who I am now, right? And I want to honor that. This is not a light and fluffy journey. This is not let's go talk to my inner child for 5 minutes, right? Kind of a journey, right? This is big, this is intense. We are working with powerful, like the most powerful energy in the body, which is your Shakti, which is Shakti herself, which is the divine life force herself, it is life force that runs through you. And it is us asking for something greater to heal us, awaken us, transform us, something that is soul-filled, something that is so divinely aligned, to come in and to guide in a way maybe it's never guided us before, or to take us to our next place of evolution, our next place of living from, our next way of being in the world. It was really important to bring words to that and just remind us that this is a cooker. It is an alchemical transformation on every level of your being, every level of your being, and how that manifests for us or feels for us or shows up in our thoughts is going to be very different. And it's also, we're journeying while still being in the mundane, right? We're mystics outside of monasteries. You are a mystic outside of a monastery right now. We are doing this in our living rooms with our babies next to us, with our work in front of us, with the dirty dishes in the sink, with all of the daily things that we have to do, and remembering that, remembering we are doing big, big, big things that in the past we would have gone to a retreat to. We would have traveled halfway around the globe to go and do. And that's just not the way of the world these days. Like, that's not what we were called to do. That's not what you and I were called to do. It's not what you were called to do for this journey at this moment, right? We were called to be mystics outside of monasteries. We were called to do this in our homes. We were called to do it in this way. And it is different, and it is beautiful, and it's almost as if it's tougher in some ways. It's easier in some ways for sure, but it's also tougher in some ways where that space isn't necessarily there, or that delineation, which I personally love, and I think it's so beautiful about what we get to do together, is that there is no huge delineation between this is sacred, this is mundane. I'm on retreat, I'm at home. I'm being spiritual, I'm being mom, right? There is much less of it, and that brings a whole different set of interesting unfoldings for all of us. And so to bring some of this stuff to the surface and to point it out, it might really help to shed some light on, like, wow, my relationship has been weird. My partner has been showing up as Pluto, as Hades. You know, the mailman came, and I think he thought he was walking into the underworld, right? To really honor the energetics of what it is that we're doing, and to honor the ripple effect, and honor that we are really traversing in these realms in this way at this time. And so that felt really important to bring to the surface, the dissolving or dissolution of the ego structures, the false self kind of being dismantled in different ways, and how that can show up for us. That felt really important, is to just say, hey, this is what's happening. And if you kind of looked into things around like dark night of the soul, it's not comfortable. It's not always comfortable when we're bringing in more soul, when we're starting to live from a different place, when we're letting go of old unconscious patterns that have been running the show for a long time. It's not always comfortable. And we sometimes really feel like, oh, wow, I don't know who I am. And also to really understand, like, we are in a cauldron or in a cooker. You know, you're in a cooker, and the underworld cooker. So honoring that, honoring what this is, honoring, and letting the mind see what it needs to see, and letting it translate what it needs to translate, because a lot of times it can't see, or it can't translate, or it can't comprehend what's going on. And so we just go to this place of like, oh my God, I don't know what that. And so this is kind of an invitation to shed some light, possibly, bring some awareness to some things, bring some words to some things. So it's just so good to be here with you all. I would love, there was a question that was shared in the Facebook group around, and I'm not going to read the question if anybody wants to read it, and it's the kind of the time of the retreat premiere where the Facebook group is open. You can kind of go back through and look for the question, but I'll kind of address it in a broader way, so that it serves the whole of our space. And I think it will answer the question if I answer it in this way. But I also want to just give a couple of minutes. Let me just feel for a second. I would love to give like 2 minutes to dissolving. Yeah. Oh, Tanya Len. Thanks, woman. Good word. Give a couple of minutes to kind of open to any themes that are arising for you in the journey, or things to bring awareness to. And I may or may not go into them. So I'm just really in that space of feeling deeply, like what serves. But in this moment, it feels as though just kind of opening up that door to hear what themes are arising for you. Or it's not like necessarily, it can be a question, but yeah, I know if I get too narrow, then no one shares, because it's like, I don't even know what you're saying, Sabrina. So it's just this opportunity to share a comment for those of you who are here live, or share a word. It's almost like we've got this cauldron and we're all just sort of throwing little ingredients into it. And so what would you throw into the cauldron? Like there's this cauldron sitting in the middle of our circle, and we're all just like weaving in little threads and ingredients into this big, beautiful soup that we're making together. And so what would you weave into the soup in this moment? Doesn't matter where you're at in the journey. Maybe you haven't started yet, maybe you're done. But I don't care. Just what would you weave in? And so I'm gonna just read some of these, and even me reading these might bring something to you. So, as you're feeling and maybe you're writing a comment, also just staying open to kind of what I'm sharing in the words that are coming through. Inability to surrender to the masculine, forgiveness and surrender, loving the shadows, resistance, letting go of an old lover, shifted out of victimhood instantly after workshop 3, like a light switch got turned on. Today I've been triggered tremendously around allowing myself to be vulnerable within the space that my divine masculine is holding for me. Not feeling honored or understood by the masculine. Raw exposure. Embody the venom. I've been asked to come in me as a killer to what doesn't serve, and an elixir to my being. I just want to give another maybe minute to share. So if I'm pausing and I'm all quiet, it's because I just want to give a space to share. I'm opening heart and allowing myself to be deeply loved. Childhood fears of outside, dark, unsafe energies coming up. Feeling both deep gratitude for what is coming in and a bit of fear as I know this is deep. Strength to be me in this world. I have so much to give. Not feeling honored or understood by the masculine. I resonate with that lately too. Challenge of trusting. Workshop 4, and meeting the masculine, I put my hand in his mouth. It was a large wildcat with fangs. He did not bite me, but then I felt that I had to break one of his fangs off. Calling up, I'm loving these women. I'm loving them, loving them, loving them. Thank you all so much for sharing so openly and vulnerably and rawly. I'm calling up the fiery fullness of me and letting it rip without censorship. No vision of the new path. Feeling overpowered, letting go of fear, having a voice, setting intention for healing trauma from masculine, surrendering, fear, Kali, destruction, living as woman and not from wounded child space, hiding from practical real life, waking up and coming home, really able to witness my harsh energy toward the masculine and really want to soften, surrender. Rage, defenses, exhaustion, held in love. Feeling wildly expanded, vibrating, and feeling extremely sensitive. Bored of this reality, wanting to be seen by someone else in my wild rage, and to be held by them. Yes, very sensitive. Okay. So something that I'm kind of feeling from all of those shares that's just really sitting heavily in our space, weighing heavily in our space in this moment anyways, is this talk around the masculine, definitely. I'm just feeling, what also just feel to remind us of is, I spoke just about this, being in the cooker, being very much in it. Some of us very much in it. Some of us not yet started, some of us at the end. A few things to really mention here is just honoring what everyone has just shared, honoring the uniqueness of this journey, honoring that, honoring if innocence was the toughest thing for you. Yes. If the masculine was the toughest thing for you. Yes. If the wildness, the wild heart was the toughest thing for you. Yes. If something else was the toughest thing for you. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. So the moment we come on lives and we all start sharing comments, we can't help it almost. Is this like, oh shoot, maybe I should have felt this, or oh shoot, that wasn't profound for me. Maybe I didn't do it right. Oh no. And I this is an invitation to just get that out of there. One of the gifts of working on our own in our homes, mystics outside of monasteries, is that we are not all in the same space together. And there is a lot less of that looking at the woman next to us or the woman across the room and going, oh no, maybe I'm not doing this right. So I just, like right now, we're all here and we're starting to share and we're starting to weave and talk, and I'm starting to share different things, and I'm saying I'm feeling this is important to talk about, this masculine, this surrender piece, this what's coming up for us around that. But I'm not sharing that in a way to at all diminish what's big for you or where you're currently at all, in any way. So really just honoring the uniqueness of this. Also, I'm just gonna flow. So this might not be very linear at all. This is very super flowy space for me at the moment, feeling into our circle and everyone at very different places, and also feeling into what serves this moment as well as what serves as this is a recorded live that will stay with this retreat. And so just bear with me as I flow and weave and just kind of dance all over the place for the next 25 minutes together. There's a few things that I want to share. One is, just because you finish workshop 7 doesn't mean that your journey's over. I would like, if that's something that has come to my attention, to really speak and bring words to, like, yes. And I even ask in workshop 7 to somehow physically close the space for yourself when you're ready. And so that's something I want to highlight or just bring some awareness to, a little bit more energy to, is, and it might be workshop 5 for you. So depending on if you did the additional with Hades two workshop parts in there. So whether you've done the last workshop, it's the same workshop for everyone. It just is either called workshop 5 or workshop 7. But honoring that we may very much continue working with the energies. Things may continue to drop in. We may very much be integrating. For some of us, it will be months. For some of us, it will be days. For some of us, we'll get insight 6 months down the track. So honoring that, really honoring that. And that was one thing to really bring up. Something else, again, I'm just telling you, we're all over the shop here, but we're gonna get everything, and I promise you. Something else is that this journey is sovereign queen. It's sovereign queen. It is sovereign queen. That's big. That's big. So there's a piece of this journey of Persephone, of the gift that is Persephone, that will push us. It will push us into becoming more sovereign. It will push us into becoming more whole. It will push us into becoming more queen than we've ever been. It will. And it may be pushing us through the journey where we're rubbing up against this almost, she's asking us, own your journey, own what you need, own what you need to support you through this. Own it, own it. Stop putting it outside of yourself. Stop blaming something else. Stop blaming someone else. Stop. And sit back and go, what do I need? And then ask for it. What supports me? Do it, right? And really feeling into, like, for some of us, it will be simple things like, I shouldn't say this is simple. It will be, I actually need to talk to someone. I need to talk to someone. I need a therapy session. I need to do some shadow work. I have just realized that I have more sexual wounding than I thought. I have just realized that I need to do some inner child work. I have just realized that I am not really in touch with my body. I've got to start moving every day. I need to start breathing into my womb every day, right? And owning that, right? As like sovereign woman making decisions, as owning our paths, as becoming empowered and taking our power back. And so sitting in this empowered place on our throne. And that's part of what this journey will do. That's part of her gift to us. And it can be very uncomfortable because we oftentimes will have some sort of pattern. We're human, right? We will have some sort of like needy little girl pattern, or some sort of projecting something onto someone, or, like, it's asking us to become so mature in our womanhood, so mature in our beings, so mature in that space. So to be able to have mature conversations, mature, challenging conversations, potentially, to be able to speak and ask for what we need, to be able to give ourselves what we need. Like, this lack of self-care is a bunch of bullshit. This lack of self-care, that's young woman garbage. That is not mature woman. That is not mature sovereign queen. Mature sovereign queen, self-care is built in. We do not compromise. We just don't live from that place. And that's a piece that I felt just to bring words to around this, and to just say, like, this is part of what Persephone is gifting us with. It's part of what she's gifting us with. She's asking us, right? She goes from being maiden, protected, sweet little maiden, victim of abduction. Some myths have victim of rape, victim to full on queen, right? Full on sovereign queen, full on queen. And so just feeling into that and what that will take you to, what we've all got to look at in ourselves to make it there, to cross that threshold. And she's not a light and fluffy thing, right? She's full on. She is full on. And I am sharing this with so much love. I am sharing this with so much love and just attempting to bring words in a way that help us to go, wow, I can see where this has pushed me. I can see what she's brought to the surface that I'm denying my own power. There's so much more to my own empowerment, to my own sovereignty, to my stepping into my fullness. And here's where it's at. And so that felt really loud in our space and really important in our space. Something else, again, I'm telling you, we're bouncing all over the place. Something else that I just want to deeply apologize for is any confusion that may have been created around like what number workshops to go to. So I'm weaving us into the masculine component. So for those of you who've chosen to do the plus Hades, so those extra 2 modules around sacred sexuality, that got put in between like workshop 4 and 7. So once we made it into the underworld, did some underworld work, then we do those 2 modules in there. It's all spelled out in your members area. Ignore what I say in the lecture. Just ignore that. I say something in lecture 4 about numbers. Just ignore me. But I do want to here on the live just apologize for kind of any confusion. Hopefully we've cleared that up. But the orders in your members area are the right order to go in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're only doing Persephone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in that order. If you're doing Persephone plus Hades, I tried to make it easy and I ended up making it more complicated in the end because I don't remember what I say in every lecture by the time I get done with a retreat. I have no idea, to be honest with you. So my deep apologies for that. And it was Tig, so Tiggs is just commenting. It was Tiggs, so Tiggs, huge shout out to you, woman. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention, like as soon as you saw it, which was at the very beginning. So thanks, woman. Just really appreciate that. That being said, whether you're doing the 5-part or the 7-part, or you choose at some point to add on the 2, we still work with the divine masculine energy. A bit, it just depends on how deeply you went or are going to go with it. I just recorded a podcast. It'll be podcast 110, and it'll come out on Tuesday. I just recorded this podcast talking about masculine, talking about the feminine's relationship to masculine, talking about forbidden masculine, talking about dark god, talking about Hades, talking about this whole underground territory, underworld territory. And I want to share just here in our retreat space that there is so much work to be done there. Collectively, in our beings, ancestrally, past lifely, I like that. Around the masculine, around our relationship to the masculine. And so if this is, early on in your journey with working with the energy of the masculine or divine union, let's even call it divine union or sacred sexuality, let me just say that it is a deep, long, hard, rigorous, intense journey. It is full on, and it is going to be years of your life. Years of your life. It will be years, depending on what level you want to go to and what level you're called to go to. Some of us are called to go really, really deeply into sacred union, really, really deeply into sacred sexuality. Some of us are, and for those of us who are called to that, which will be a lot of us on this retreat, a lot of us on this retreat who've chosen to do the Persephone plus Hades components, you got the call, you got the bug, you got the thing, right? But I want to point out that sacred union and divine union, any tantric path, any sacred sexuality path, it is like wildfire, and it will burn you over and over and over and over and over, and it will strip you bare over and over and over and over and over. And you're going to have to look at all of the ways that your masculine and feminine are not dancing together, all of the ways that they can't be in reverence to each other, all of the ways that they can't be in honor of each other, all of the ways that they judge, that they project, all of the old fears that sit around it, the old wounds, the old pains, all of it, all of it, all of it, right? Again, depending on how deep you go with this path. But for it to be challenging to work with the masculine, yeah, it's fucking hard because of how much sits there. How distorted is sexuality in our society? In our family systems, how distorted is relationship in our society, in our family systems? And we just have to look at that, right? It is some of the most treacherous territory to walk into. Some of the most treacherous territory to walk into is the dance between the masculine and the feminine, is sexuality, is raw, naked sexuality, is that union, right? And I fully honor and fully feel and have so much compassion and so much reverence for it being hard, because it is hard. It is hard. And we did not choose light and fluffy archetypes to work with here. We did not choose Mars and Venus. And I'm not even saying Mars and Venus is light and fluffy. I've seen people wiped out by Mars and Venus, right? They will wipe you out. But that's a light level of Persephone and Hades. So when I wrote, like, this is the edgiest online program that we've put out, it's because of that plus Hades part. Like, it's because of that. And so I also, like, as much as I'm saying, like, let's just keep this into perspective, that this is territory that is years. Sacred union, divine union, especially in the underworld, in the dark god, dark goddess territory, it is years of work, right? It's not just the Persephone retreat and then we're good to go. We've got it sorted. Sacred sexuality is our thing. Like, I want to put that in perspective, and I'm saying this with just love, but just going, it's full on. There's a lot here. We have so much shame around sexuality, so much shame, and it's not even our shame. Like, we have church shame, we have family shame, we have collective shame, we have past life shame. We have so much shame around sexuality, so much shame around our bodies, so much shame around union. So we have so much shame that we don't even know where it is, or how deep it is, or where it comes from. So much, and so much old patterning, so much weird nervous system kinks. We've got so much closure. It's so hard for us to stay open, stay loving, stay divinely connected, and be fucking. It is really hard for most people on this planet to be divinely connected, soul aligned, heart opened, and be fucking. And I don't say that to rub anyone the wrong way. I say it to really let us feel into, like, why is that such a dichotomy? Why is that so hard? It should be like washing the dishes. Right? It's just, why can't I let divinity flow? If I can let divinity flow through me while I'm holding a baby, why can't I let divinity flow through me while I'm making love? So, we've been bathed in shame. Yeah. And we are living in the collective energy that we're currently living in. We're living in the collective energy we're currently living in. I share this all the time. So I'm in Colorado, and we had huge wildfires this year. So wildfires that it was smoky here, days and days and days and days, like so smoky you can't breathe. You can't open the doors, or the wind, like you cannot breathe. And that's an analogy for living in the collective. So I can't see the fire. I'm not paying attention to the fire. I'm not focused on the fire, but I'm still in the smoke. I'm still in the smoke. I'm still breathing the smoke. It's still hurting my lungs. My eyes are still running. And it's the same with the collective energy around sexuality, around union, around divine union, around the relationship between the masculine and the feminine. So even if we're not seeing it, we're not focused on it, on the collective, I'm saying, we're not focused on the toxicity around it, or the shame around it, or the pain around it, or the fear around it, or all of the hurt around it, all of the abuse and the atrocities that are still happening around it. Even if we're not with it there, seeing it, focused on it, we're still breathing that air in. We're still breathing it in. We're in it, and it's tough, right? But we're also called to this work. You wouldn't be here if you weren't called to be kind of shining a light for not just yourself or your children or your families or your communities or those who you work with, but you're the ripple effect, like being a beacon of light amidst the smoke, being a breath of fresh air amidst the smoke. So I hope that helps. I'll just share a quick, tiny little personal thing. It was 8 years for me. 8 years. 8 years of divine union work, of sacred sexuality, of tantric relating. 8 years, hours and hours a day, with a partner of mine. It was quite literally 2 hours a day, every day, for 4 years straight. For 4 years straight, and then it was another 4 years on top of that after that, where it was working this relationship between masculine and feminine, between sacred sexuality. And I don't share that to say like, here's where I'm at. I share it just to give a little bit of perspective around how much is there, just how loaded this territory is. How loaded, I talk about that iceberg oftentimes, and it's, we see like the tiny little bit above the water, and then you kind of look under the water, you're like, what the? That was kind of how it was for me around sexual healing when I first started, and around union, and around really seeing my relationship to the masculine and my relationship to the feminine, and how they danced and how they made love and where they were at. It was really just like, I will never come to a good, healthy, beautiful, balanced place in myself. I will never. I hit points where I was never having sex again. I'm never having sex again. I hit such deep fear places as I was unpacking things and releasing old pent-up emotions and just fears and past life stuff and ancestral stuff. And as I was releasing, it was like, I cannot be touched. I cannot be touched. I cannot be touched. I cannot be touched. for me, that was part of my journey. And now I know not all of us, not all of us are called to go that deep. And so just a deep honoring of where we're called to go. And you might not even have been called to go into the plus Hades portion, right? It might not even call you, and I honor that. And I so wholeheartedly respect that. We're not all called to go to different territories. We're not all called to go into different places. And so just really just honoring and sharing, kind of, again, going back to kind of the whole theme of this live, which is really bringing light to how big this journey is, how big it is, how deep we're going, and just some of the different aspects of it, and what we're just starting to touch into. And this is a portion of our whole overall journey, just a portion of our whole overall journey. So I'm really honoring, really witnessing, really holding so much, and just, such love and such compassion for what you're doing and where you're at and what's coming up for you. I'll end on this. There was a question, this was the question I mentioned before earlier. I said we're gonna bounce around, but I will get to everything around dark energy. And of course, we're in the underworld. We're not working with dark energy in the underworld. We're working with unconscious, with the hidden. But it is, I think, worthwhile to just mention dark energy. This kind of opens up a whole kind of Pandora's box, a whole set of things. I want to start this conversation. It's going to be short. We've only got a couple of minutes together, so it's going to be short. We are working with Shakti, with very wise, divine life force energy that flows through us. All of our practices are what's in the best for me. Highest and best, highest and best, highest and best, right? You probably get so sick of hearing me say, true north, highest and best. It's because we're continuing to come into alignment. And it's also because I'm continuing to try to soothe your ego from points that it hits when it shits itself and it gets really scared. It's multi-layer. There's lots of things that are in that for us. It tunes us to the right radio dial. It keeps bringing us back. It keeps bringing us back. So we make decisions from that place. So we keep holding that place. We keep holding that thread of highest and best, 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 highest and best. It keeps us in that space. And so when we start talking about, I felt a dark presence, and to feel like a dark presence, okay? There's dark presences all over. There's dark entities all over the place. There's dark energies all over the place. There's dark magic. There's dark witchery shit. There's dark arts. That's there. So for me to say there is no dark, love, and that would be just ridiculous of me, and I would be lying to you. But it's out there. This is not that. This is not that. Rewilding will never be that. What we do together is not that. And I don't think that many of you are questioning that at all. I just want to be very solidly, very clear about this. This is not that. This is all to do with high vibrational soul light, high divine light, high spiritual essence. Everything that we do, bringing light into the dark, bringing light into the dark. And so if there's a dark entity that we might feel, or sometimes we might feel darkness being released from our bodies. I've birthed demon babies, way back when I first started my shamanic training, 12 years ago. I remember giving birth to a demon baby one point. I was like, what the darkness is this? But it was just the only way that my mind could visualize or translate releasing old energy that no longer served. Old energy that no longer served. That was what how my mind translated it at the time. So honoring, how our minds are translating things, honoring this, calling in the grace and the light, right? Call it in. call it in. Keep attuning to higher self. Like if you hit a place where it's feeling like, oh, dark energy, dark essence, like unless you're consciously wanting to go work with dark arts, like call in the light. Call in the light, call in the grace, call in highest self. What is in highest alignment here? What is in true north here? I wanted to talk about that here in our space. It's usually isn't a conversation that comes up unless we're like in a mystery school where we really kind of can flesh some of that out. But really for us here on this retreat, we are not working with that. And if there is some of that stuff around, you might have your own practices around how you do this, around how you just expand light, how you just ask things to leave. I remember I had a friend of mine who she became I call her the Ghostbuster. She became a Ghostbuster. It's just one of the soul gifts that opened up for her. She became a Ghostbuster. She started to open up to unseen realms and could see like stuck souls that just didn't make it over. I call her Ghostbuster, obviously. Why wouldn't you call your friend Ghostbuster if she suddenly got that skill? But for her, it's just, she just calls in the light. She just calls in the light. You just open the door, call in the light. Here you go. And now she has very strong boundaries around it. She's like, I'm not dealing with this. I will open the light for you because I have that capacity. And either you stuck soul or you dark energy or entity, like either you're gonna go there, you're out. I call in the violet flame. Hillary, I love that you just shared that. Yeah, the violet flame, that alchemizing energy that just shifts things to love. And so that's just feel into like what supports. And I know, right, I hate having this conversation. Part of me hates having this conversation because it now opens the door and everyone's like, oh shit. But because it got brought in publicly to our Facebook group, felt very important for me to bring words to it and to just bring it up here and to talk about it here in our space. We are very much working in the light, call in the grace. And again, also owning your sovereignty in this, owning your sovereignty in this. If there's something going on and you're like, wow, I actually need to do some research on this. I actually need to call in an exorcist. I need to call in a Ghostbuster. Do it. Right? Own it. So this is just that invitation, owning your sovereignty, owning it, right? If there's a dark entity over your whatever, like, all right, great. I'm not going to play victim here. I'm not going to play little girl here, little maiden here. I'm going to own my sovereignty. I'm going to step into my queendom and I'm going to go, what do I need? What serves? I'm going to come to true north. I'm going to call in the wisdom. I'm going to call in the grace. I'm going to go, okay, how do I move from here? What is wise woman way of moving from here? And then you move from there, right? You take that action from that wise place, that wise discerning place. I love that we got to bring that in and to end and to weave into that piece that Persephone is just so gifting us with. And in her like fierceness, like you can feel that. Like she's in that way that she's put your crown on and wear it, right? Sit on your throne, right? Grow up, become woman. This is initiation into womanhood. Persephone is fierce initiation into womanhood, and she will point out all of our little girly ways, all of our like young victim-y ways, all of our, little like sneaky ways that we try and do things. She will point a light on that. She will bring that. That's her gift to us. Yeah. All right, I know we went a little bit over. I knew once I opened up that conversation, we would go a little bit over, but can feel my victim trembling. Casey, I got so much love for you, sister, right? Like, I got a little adolescent little girl in here. I got a little girl in here. I got a little one in here. I got an inner child in here. I got like little young adolescent girl in here. Heck yeah. But just like loving all of those parts, like loving those parts, loving that inner child, loving that the victim feeling, all of those parts, just like if we can love them, let them integrate, let them be part of us, like give them their space, bring the light to them, and just like love them up. And just having so much compassion for ourselves and so much love for ourselves and what we're doing, and really supporting ourselves through this, and loving the unlovable, right? That's part of Persephone's gift in one of our explorations, like just that loving all of these parts. So yeah, just holding you all in so much love, like really holding you all in my heart as you journey through this, and just sending so much grace and just goodness your way through this, and deep reverence for what you said yes to, woman. Deep reverence for what you said yes to. All right, I will see you in the next module, in the next lecture. Who knows where I will see you, but thank you all for being here and doing what you're doing, and the ripple effect that we get to do. We get to work the grid. Every one of our circles, retreats, workshops, spaces is always working the grid. That ripple effect. So when I say working the grid, it's just this aspect of humanity, this aspect in the collective, this aspect in the psyches of every man, woman, child being on the planet. Just deep reverence for that. All right. Oh, I love you all. I kind of don't want to let you guys go. Just want to be with you, but all right. I will. Okay. Enjoy, and just so much love, and